Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So tonight we're going to talk about Canada's water. Americans, stick around. Understand everything I'm saying for Canada is true for the United States. We just don't have a massive investigation that uncovered it. We have the same problems. So, Canadian journalists, journalism students, university faculty members, a whole bunch of people banded together and conducted this massive investigation of pretty much the entire country. And they determined that they are having a water crisis on a national level that is worse than Flint. If you did not follow that story and you're a Canadian, we have the same problems. Flint was a city that got highlighted because it was exceptionally bad. In Canada, they found that they have hundreds of thousands of Canadians who have been unknowingly drinking contaminated water. Drinking water that had high levels of lead in it. In several cities, the levels were consistently and considerably higher than Flint's. I'm intentionally not saying the worst contaminated cities, because if you are a Canadian, you need to go look at the list. Because even if you're not one of the worst off, you're probably still in trouble. You need to look at this, and you need to hold your local officials accountable. 33% of tested water sources had lead levels higher than 5 parts per billion, which is the Canadian guideline. Now in the US, we have a limit of 15 parts per billion. They don't have a limit. They have a guideline established by their federal government, but each jurisdiction handles it in its own way. There's no unified response to this. There really is no safe level of lead. It's all bad. It is all bad. A single glass of highly contaminated water can lead to hospitalization. It's all bad. In kids, it lowers IQ, causes problem focusing, it damages the brain, kidneys. It's just all bad. Schools there are not regularly tested, and by my reading, and I might be wrong on this because this is just something I couldn't really believe, even if the local jurisdiction tests a school and finds out it has high levels, they're under no obligation to tell anybody, is the way I read that. I might be wrong, but that's certainly the way it appeared. One of the estimates said that there were 500,000 service lines that are lead. That's a huge problem. Service lines service multiple homes or apartment complexes. That's a lot of affected people. The water itself, in situations like this, the water is fine. What happens is that old lead pipes corrode a little bit, and chunks of lead break free and they end up in the water. And the only way to fix it is to replace it. There are anti-corrosives that could be put into the water, but it's a Band-Aid. It doesn't really solve the problem. It just kicks the can a little bit further down the road. And that's how we, Canada and the US, wound up in this situation to begin with. We have aging infrastructure. It's got to be fixed. It has to be fixed. And it's not just water lines, it's bridges, it's everything. We have aging infrastructure, but it costs money. It costs money. And we don't want to spend it, I guess. In Canada, there is no unified response because it is done by jurisdiction. Some of the jurisdictions, like Quebec, they came out, they're like, we're fixing this now. They definitely seem to understand the severity of the issue. My understanding is that, I think it was Montreal, is actually going to replace both the public side and the private pipes, the pipes that are on private property, and let the homeowner pay them back like anytime in like the next decade and a half when they get the cash. They're just going to fix it. When we have issues like this, it boggles the mind. We're talking about developed countries that are seen as some of the most powerful on the planet. But until we, as citizens, care how our money is spent, stuff like this is going to continue to happen. I would personally rather pay to have all of the pipes in Flint fixed rather than send some more bombs overseas. Call me crazy. But here we are. And at the end of the day, if a government cannot provide the most basic of services, clean water, if a jurisdiction can't provide that, if a government can't provide that, what good is it? If it can't do that, how can it be trusted to do anything? Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.